days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. We're going to be talking about 49ers focus on special teams. And this is a request. Benjamin asked me to put a focus of an episode on how the 49ers have improved or have been looking to improve special teams in 2025. And I thought that was a great question because the thing is, the 49ers really have put a focus on special teams during the 2025 offseason. And they had to. It didn't really work out last year with Brian Schneider. In fact, it hasn't worked out for a couple of years, maybe even 3 years. And the 49ers put a real emphasis on special teams when they moved on from Richie Hightower. Hightower went out, Schneider came in, he was able to bring in his guys. That's when you started seeing Oren Burks and George Odom, and they brought in guys that were going to be able to help on special teams. And for the 49ers, it just didn't work out. It never worked out with Coach Brian Schneider. And so the 49ers have to take a new approach. They have to go a new direction. And Kyle Shanahan's probably tired of hearing about it. Because one of the things that Kyle Shanahan has been accused of, and been accused of a lot, is not caring about special teams. And of course, some of the reporters got a little bit verbal with him during the offseason, and he said, hey, wait a second. I think we've proven that we care about special teams here. And I think a lot of the reporters are feeling that way because they feel maybe practices and the details behind the practices when it comes to special teams aren't really enough. But I don't know how much of that falls on Kyle Shanahan and how much of that falls on Brian Schneider. I will say this. The head coach is only given so much rope with it not being his fault and it being on the coordinator, because at some point you've got to make a change. If you feel like they're just not getting it done, you've got to do something. And so Kyle Shanahan, reluctantly, because he doesn't like to let go of coaches, he really does care about his coaches, let go Brian Schneider, and it was a great move. And in comes Brant Boyer, the former special teams coach of the New York Jets. Now, he's not just tied to Robert Saleh. He was with the Jets before Robert Saleh ever even got there. He got there in 2016. He's made it through a few regimes there in New York. And one consistency about Brant Boyer, he is a good special teams coach. He turns special teams units around. They're not always the top, and some of that goes with the talent that he's going to be able to use and, what he has at his disposal. So if you have guys that aren't playing good, he had a punter last year, didn't do very good. Greg Zuerlein didn't kick very good last year. When that happens, it's going to bring down all the marks for the special team. So that's something to consider. But what you're getting is a fiery guy. This is the opposite of what you're getting with Brian Schneider. Schneider was very low-key, very patient, very calm, did a lot of talking, especially on the field. With Brant Boyer, you're getting more of a fire, more of an excitement, more of an aggressive style of a coach. And I think that is needed. I think that balances out the 49ers coaching staff. You get Robert Saleh, who's got a controlled violence where he's very calm until it's time to not be calm. And then he's very aggressive. With Brant Boyer, you're going to get more of an aggressive nature, more nonstop. And then Kyle, you get more of a stoic type of persona. So it's interesting to see the dynamic between the coaches, but it was nice to see the opposite happen, because this is what happens with coaching staffs. If you have someone that's really quiet, the next coach probably should be fiery, try to get some aggression going and bring in guys. So Boyer was a great hire. And with Boyer came a different philosophy and some of his own guys. So we're going to talk about that, what differences the 49ers have made on special teams, how they've put a focus on special teams in 2025, and is it going to make a difference? That's what we're going to try to figure out by the end of this episode, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Please stick around for it. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening to audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. And if you are going to bet with Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. Baseball season is in full swing, and we're into NBA and NHL playoffs. And BetOnline has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting while the games are being played. With a large selection of odds on everything from MLB, NBA, NHL, and UFC, BetOnline remains the best online source for all your sports wagering info. In between games, head over to the BetOnline casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. BetOnline, the game starts here. So with special teams, the biggest question mark for the special teams unit has to start with Jake Moody. And the 49ers haven't made a change when it comes to kicker. They are still working with Jake Moody. And I think this was the process that we all thought was going to happen, that they were going to have Jake Moody. They were going to try to figure out what went wrong, and then they were going to try to fix it. That is Brant Boyer's first objective, is getting Jake Moody right. And it's not easy to get Jake Moody right. Jake Moody really struggled last year. Now, I think he showed some promise early on in the season before the injury, and I think even at the end of the year. Yes, he missed some big kicks, but he also made some big pressured kicks as well in the Super Bowl. Those are experience. Those are things that can go a long way. So I think it was important to let Brant Boyer evaluate Jake Moody. Now, he said that Jake Moody was the number one kicker for pretty much every single team when he came out of college. And he said that he had him the same way. So there's a lot of confidence that he has in Jake Moody in his ability to be a consistent NFL kicker. Now, one thing that was said during the offseason by John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan was that there was going to be a veteran brought in to compete with Jake Moody, and the San Francisco 49ers have done that. They signed kicker Greg Joseph to a one-year contract. And Greg Joseph is 30 years old. He came into the NFL in 2018 as an undrafted free agent out of Florida Atlantic, and he signed with the Miami Dolphins initially. Now, he's kicked for a lot of teams in his career, including the Browns, Titans, Vikings, Giants, Commanders, and Jets. So there's your familiarity with Brant Boyer. He came into the league in 2018. He kicked for the Jets, which means he kicked for Brant Boyer, who was there since 2016. So this is a guy that Brant Boyer feels confident he can bring in. And it was interesting because Zuerlein got cut, and that was the first thing I thought was, well, Brant Boyer, he knows Zuerlein, but he also knows Joseph as well. So who is Joseph? How good is Greg Joseph? Well, he's played in 75 games in his NFL career, and he's made 82.3% of his field goal attempts and 90.8% of his extra point tries. So it's not like it's dynamic. It's not over the moon. It's not wonderful. But this is the veteran that's going to be coming in to kick opposite of Jake Moody. And I think a lot of people were hoping it was going to be somebody a little bit more dynamic that was going to push him, a Nick Folk or somebody like that. But it's not. It's going to, be a 8-year veteran in Greg Joseph. And so he's been consistent when it comes to PATs, but the field goals, 82.3% is not bad. But I think you'd like it to be a little bit better. Now, he has converted 71 of 72 kicks inside 40 yards and has really good kickoff experience, which that is something that kind of flew under the radar, but was definitely a problem for Jake Moody, especially post-injury, was where he was putting the football. There was too many times he did not get it in the landing zone with the new dynamic kickoff rule, and the other team got to start at the 40-yard line. That is inexcusable. So we need a kicker that can consistently do that. So Jake Moody needs to be pushed, and this is a guy that can do it. And so we got to give the opportunity to Greg Joseph to come in and compete. So they finally get a guy. Now, Moody missed 10 field goals last season. Now, the injury seemed to be a big part of it, and they are definitely hoping that he's going to be able to bounce back. And Brant Boyer said he is as talented as it gets. I think the injury issue, he was fighting injuries last year, back and forth. I think it had a lot to do with it. So Joseph was with Brant Boyer in 2024. That's where they were familiar with each other. So you get a new kicker coming in to work with Jake Moody. And that's part of the way that they're going to help Jake Moody is, number one, you bring in a veteran, right? You have some veteran leadership, somebody in the room that could help him out a little bit. That's number one. Now, they are going to be competing as well, so it's going to put some pressure on him. But Brant Boyer didn't just do that. He evaluated all the process, and he talked about the injury, and that's important. But the 49ers also made a change in the process. They waived Tabor Pepper. They released him. And when you release your long snapper, you're not doing it for financial reasons. You're doing it because the play is something you didn't think was as good as maybe it should have been. And one of the ways you can make your kicker better is to make sure he has all of his processes in place. And what am I talking about with processes? You need a long snapper that's going to put the ball consistently in the right spot and get the ball to your holder to where he can get the ball down in time, in rhythm, and with the laces pointing out, and make sure the whole process is down. Now, of course, we do know that it wasn't just Tabor Pepper that was having some inconsistencies, but also Mitch Wisnowski was out, and they had a replacement holder, and that also plays into it. But Tabor Pepper was a little bit more erratic last year than he had been in the past. And a lot of people going back and looking at the film and say, no, he wasn't. He was. The ball is a little off here or there. Some of the way the ball is received, the way it got there was a little bit different and a little bit off. And that made it more difficult. And if the process is bad, it's going to make it tougher for Jake Moody. So Brant Boyer said, you know what? I don't like the inconsistencies with the snap. We need to make sure it's really good. And the 49ers signed John Weeks, long snapper from the Tennessee Titans. And what's great about John Weeks is Weeks has been an all-pro long snapper. This is a top-of-the-line guy. Now, when Boyer was talking about him, he talked about he's kind of able to do it all, right? You need him to go down and make a tackle, he'll do it. Now, a lot of people were kind of laughing at his picture because he looks like a normal dude, like an average dude you'd see on the street and not a football player. But I can tell you this right now, when it comes to long snapping, he's one of the most consistent in the league, and he's going to help this process. By not messing up the timing for Jake Moody, that's going to be significant to his success level. So if you can take all the worry out of it, everything you can possibly control, you control and take any sort of doubt out of the equation for Jake Moody is what you do. You get Weeks. Now you're going to have Wisnowski back holding again. There's a comfort blanket there. Now once they get that process together, then Jake Moody can just go kick. He doesn't have to worry about the football getting down in time or being where it's supposed to be. It's going to be there. So I love that Brant Boyer came in, evaluated the process. He probably evaluated Mitch Wisnowski as a holder, evaluated Tabor Pepper as a long snapper. I'm sure he evaluated Mitch Wisnowski as a punter as well and said, okay, and he has to sign off. And so far, he has signed off on a new long snapper, which I like, and Mitch Wisnowski as punter/holder. Now they've brought in competition with Greg Joseph to compete with Jake Moody. So they've done everything they said they were going to do. It's a guy familiar with Brant Boyer, and now they're going to have a competition. So that was the first thing you had to do to improve special teams. And the special teams, if Jake Moody gets figured out and he comes out and he kicks it like he's never kicked before and he's consistent because they've taken care of everything, then this worked out. This is the best move the 49ers could have made, and their special team's going to make a huge jump. If he can be better with field goals, extra points, if he can be consistent with his kickoffs, that's going to pay huge dividends. They're big ifs. They're big question marks, but Boyer's putting focus on it and giving an opportunity to do so. Another thing that the 49ers needed to get better at was punt and kick return. Last year, it was a real struggle for this 49ers team. Number one, there was inconsistencies when it came to yardage. Jacob Cowling didn't have a great year when it came to getting yards on punt return. He just wasn't great at it. Now, he did secure catches very well. Got to give him credit for that. Very good catcher of the football when it came to punt return. Ricky Pearsall, the same thing. Like, those guys can both catch it clean. You don't have any worries about that. But when you're talking about field position, one of the things that really helps out an offense or a defense is getting good field position. And the offense really hasn't paid or had any dividends paid from the special teams from them getting a good punt return. I don't think we've seen a good punt returner for the San Francisco 49ers since Ted Ginn. And so this is something that was on their list, was punt return, but also kick return as well. Last year, Deebo Samuel handled the role. He's gone. You tried Isaac Arendo. He fumbled. Patrick Taylor's not very dynamic. Who are you going to get to handle the kickoff return role? That's something else, because Brad Boyer has talked about how significant that's going to be for the 2025 team, because this season the NFL has changed the rule. Now, if it's a touchback, it doesn't come out to the 30, it comes out to the 35. And he believes that that's going to cause teams to not want to kick it through the end zone for touchbacks. That extra 5 yards is going to make them more willing to kick it into the landing zone where there has to be a return. So now it's important to have dynamic kick returners able to change field position, because if you have more opportunities at returns, you should have more opportunities for big plays and to flip field position. Extra 5-10 yards enhances your opportunities to get points and percentages to get points very big. So this is an opportunity for the 49ers. So the first thing they did was they went out and they drafted Junior Burgeon from Montana. Now, the reason that this one makes a lot of sense is Brad Boyer watched him play a ton. His son, Brad Boyer's son, was the place kicker at Montana. So they've been a huge fan of Burgeon throughout the last couple of years, where he was absolutely fantastic returning punts. When you talk about Junior Burgeon, he was a good player. Now, coming out of high school, Junior Burgeon was a quarterback / wide receiver. His freshman year at Montana, he played running back a lot. He's a dynamic weapon that way, running back / wide receiver. But make no mistake, the 49ers drafted him so he could help with special teams, especially punt returns. So let's just look at his numbers of what he's been able to do in his career. So in 2021, when he was a freshman, he had 8 returns for 140 yards and 24 yards per return. Pretty remarkable. In 2022, he had 22 returns for 327 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 15.3 average. So really dynamic. In 2023, he had 28 returns for 429 yards, 3 touchdowns, 14.9 average yards. These are dynamic numbers. But then when you look at how teams approached him in the 2024 season, you see the respect for how he returns kicks. They just weren't willing to take chances of putting the ball in Junior Burgeon's hands. He only got 10 returns. He returned those for 240 yards and 3 touchdowns. Think about that. Nearly 1 of every 3 times he touched the ball on a punt return opportunity, he took it to the house for a touchdown. That is impressive. A 17.5 return average during those times. He was just a special teams stud. And so Brad Boyer sees the opportunity here to change field position. And if you can change field position as a special teams coach by getting the right guy in place, that's going to make it easier on your offense, which in turn makes it easier for your defense. Because even if you start the ball at the 40-yard line and you cross midfield, you change field position. At worst, you punt, and the defense is now, got the offense backed up. But at best, you're getting a field goal, or you're getting a touchdown, or a scoring opportunity because field position was changed by a good punt returner. It's a very important part of football. And the 49ers haven't had that dynamic guy. So they go get one. And Junior Burgeon is the guy that does it. Then you have a little bit of a work together here, because I do believe that the next guy I'm going to talk about is brought in for defensive purposes. But there is a opportunity for him on special teams as well. So it's probably one of those things where Gus Bradley said, hey, I want to bring in this guy. Brad Boyer, will you sign off on this too? Because if we get 2 guys together, we're going to make this happen. So just recently, the 49ers had some releases, one of those guys being Trey Tomlinson, a cornerback. When that happened, the San Francisco 49ers signed a new cornerback, Dallas Flowers, and he was formerly with Indianapolis, spent time with Gus Bradley. At the end of 2023, he tore his Achilles. So last year in 2024, without the Achilles, he was going to be potentially a starter at corner. That's why I say I don't count him out as a potential contributor on defense. But one of the reasons that I think he makes sense for the 49ers, more so than just defense or just special teams, is he's got the ability to help on defense and help on special teams. This is kind of Darrell Luter Jr.'s worst nightmare because Darrell Luter Jr. is a big physical corner who struggled on special teams. Dallas Flowers is a big physical corner who excels on special teams. He had last year, he played a little bit for the Colts and a little bit for Tampa Bay. He had 6 tackles on special teams, but he also is a kick returner. He's had some big returns in the kicking game for the Indianapolis Colts. So we talked about the fact you need to address both punt return and kick return. And it looks like this is another option that they've done that. You could also talk about, some other players that they added to this roster when it comes to speed. They also got a young rookie who's got the ability for some returns as well with Jordan Watkins. So they keep adding guys with return ability. Watkins, a 4.3 speed guy. Dallas Flowers, a guy who has the ability to kick return, and he's a quick guy too. Then you've got Junior Burgeon. So now you're adding this talent, an influx of talent that can go out and potentially get you return yards. And that's huge. And maybe it's still going to be Isaac Guerendo to a point, right? I mean, Guerendo's got the ability. He's got that 4.3 speed. We've seen the dynamic kickoff return in preseason. So now you're starting to get some real dynamic ability. I think when you look at Junior Burgeon, he's got the best vision out of all these guys. The vision is really there. When you look at athleticism, it's Jordan Watkins, is Isaac Guerendo. But then when you're talking about a guy who's got pretty good feel and the ability to do it, because we've seen it, Dallas Flowers. So special teams right now, you're just these guys we've talked about already. Tremendous focus for the 49ers. And I love that it's kind of, we're getting the guy for defense, but we're also getting him for special teams. And that's what we're going to talk about with some of the other guys they focused on. Because another guy they brought in was Luke Gifford. And Luke Gifford, linebacker from the Tennessee Titans, but a special teams ace. Whether he was with Dallas or he was with Tennessee, he has been a very consistent special teams player on the kickoff team. And the 49ers need guys on kickoff and kickoff return that are going to be able to make plays in the open field and make tackles and make blocks. And that was one of the things that really hurt the 49ers last year when they gave up some of their big returns was key linebackers missing tackles, whether that was Tatum Bethune or that was Jalen Graham. They had safeties like Jalen Mahoney. They had guys who were missing tackles and not making plays. That has to change. Luke Gifford does that. Gifford is going to be a big special teams addition. This is the equivalent of the 49ers going down and getting Oren Burks. It paid huge dividends initially. Then he got into the starting lineup the next year, and he didn't play as much special teams. They eventually had to put him back out there because they were struggling so much. But Gifford's going to be a huge addition. Those lanes that were available last year, I don't think they're going to be as available this year. Brad Boyer, number one, strategically, he's a better coach. Number two, he gets guys like Luke Gifford who are good tacklers. Now, Gifford is also going to be a key contributor on defense, probably as a backup linebacker. So that's going to be huge as well. 49ers are going to grab a couple of guys now that they can have help on special teams and on defense. So I think Gifford was a huge pickup for the 49ers. But they weren't done. They also went out and got a cornerback, Kieran Neal. And Kieran Neal is another really good player that the 49ers got that can help on special teams. Saron Neal, said it wrong. Saron Neal, that can really help on special teams. He played for Buffalo, he played for Miami, but it's another key contributor, this time from the cornerback position. We talked about Dallas Flowers, now we talk about Kieran Neal, and it's not like these guys can't play defense, but they're going to help your special teams unit out a lot. And when you're talking about depth at cornerback, that's when you start getting into those guys that need to be able to help on special teams. Cornerback 4, cornerback 5, they need to be consistent contributors. That's one of the ways that they're going to be able to beat out a Darrell Luter Jr. is their ability to help. But Saron Neal is a guy that gets after it. He makes tackles, secure, really good tackler. And so I think he's going to be a nice addition to the special teams unit. Very much got the ability to get down there, be a gunner, make some plays that way. So you get Gifford, he's going to help a lot. You get Saron Neal, he's going to help a lot. These guys are special teams aces, and that's what the 49ers need. They still have George Odom. I don't know how George Odom is going to make this team. I think it's going to be difficult, but he's still a really good special teams player. Not last year because of injuries, but the year before, he was a second-team All-Pro special teams player. So they have key special teams players on their football team. But they also added 2 safeties. Richie Grant, who was a great special teams player over the last couple of years. He's another guy that makes tackles, is able to contribute. And you need guys like this that can help. So you add Richie Grant. If he's going to be depth at safety, well, then he's going to be helping you on special teams. The guys who help a lot on special teams are linebackers, safeties. I talked about Jalen Mahoney missing a tackle, during the season. Richie Grant wouldn't have missed that tackle. So I think that that's important. But safeties, corners, linebackers, tight ends, those are the guys, running backs, that really help on special teams a lot. Those are guys who have to be key contributors. Those are the guys who have to be physical, make tackles, and can help you on your kickoff and your kickoff return team. And I think Richie Grant was another great selection. And depending on who starts, right now, Malik Mustafa is probably going to be out initially. So either Richie Grant, Jason Pinnock are probably going to start at safety. Whoever doesn't is probably going to be a key contributor on special teams. And so that's going to be a key element too. But 2 more special team signings, yes, they are going to help your defense, and there's a motivation for them to help your defense. But make no mistake, when they sign these guys, it's with the idea that they can help with special teams depth and with defensive depth. That's what they're looking at. And if these guys are going to play better on the field as far as safeties than George Odom, they've got to be able to help on special teams to kind of negate the impact lost by not having George Odom. I don't think Odom's out of the mix. I think they're going to let this be an open competition. So easily George Odom could beat out Richie Grant or Jason Pinnock and make this team and help on special teams as a depth player. So I don't want to get it twisted that I don't think that he can make this team, because I do believe that he's got an opportunity to make this team, but they just keep adding in those players, and they need it because they had guys who were struggling. Another key was just them bringing back Curtis Robinson. Curtis Robinson's a solid special teams player. So just bringing him back, that's a big addition as well. Last year, they let Jalen Graham go after training camp, right? They waived him. They ended up bringing him back from Washington Commanders practice squad because they were lacking depth on special teams and at linebacker. And when he comes back, he really struggled. He missed some key tackles. Now, I don't think that's indicative of who Jalen Graham is. I do think he's better than some of the play we saw last year. I think he can be better than that. I had high hopes for him when the 49ers drafted him. But they've got to insulate themselves. And having Curtis Robinson, I know he's coming back from an injury, but he's a better special teams player than some of the other linebackers. Like Tatum Bethune struggled mightily at special teams. He needs to get better at special teams if he's going to make this roster. That's going to be up to Brant Boyer to make sure it happens. But you're also going to have to get a Jalen Graham being better. But if not, you have Curtis Robinson. And I think the 49ers feel comfortable with Curtis Robinson playing defense as well. So he's another one. But then there's also a couple of rookie draft picks I want to talk about. And I don't think that the 49ers are going to have Nick Martin play special teams. I think he's going to probably be a part of the linebacker group. So I'm not counting on him and D. Winters, who would be phenomenal special teams players, unless Brant Boyer can talk them into allowing them to play special teams, because with their speed, athleticism, tackling ability, and way to hit, they could be dynamic special teams players. I don't think we're going to see it from Nick Martin. Alfred Collins will be on the PAT block, guaranteed. With those long arms and that ability, he's going to be able to help there. And just think about that. 49ers might have a chance to block some field goals and PATs this year with Alfred Collins being on the inside. That's something to watch. He could be dynamic, athleticism, length, blocks a lot of passes, tips a lot of passes, knocks them down. So that's an element to his game that can help. But I think the biggest special teams contributors, besides Junior Burgeon, from this rookie class, it's got to start with Marcus Siegel. The ability to run a 4.3 40 and get downhill and make tackles. I think Siegel is going to be a dynamite special teams player early, and I think they're going to have to count on him. So this is one that when you draft a player in the 5th round, you're drafting him, yes, for what he could be as a defensive player, but what he is as a special teams player. And he's going to have to contribute early. The same way when they drafted Talanoa Hufanga, that was the expectation. When they drafted Jair Brown, that was the expectation. Special teams, and then he'll work into being a safety starter eventually. Malik Mustafa last year, same thing. That's what Marcus Siegel's going to have to do early. Play special teams, be good at special teams, And then the other one, if he doesn't start, that could help on special teams is Upton Stout, because Stout is the same way. A hitter, very physical, downhill, aggressive style, could help extensively when it comes to a kickoff team. But even playing on the outside as a gunner or somebody that can go down, and I think Marcus Siegel as well, playing a gunner on punt, could be huge advantage for the 49ers. So they drafted some guys that can help as well. If Nick Barton somehow doesn't start, I think he would help on special teams as well. But I think he's going to have an opportunity to start, so it's less likely that he's going to be able to help. So has the special teams got better? Absolutely, I think so. I think that there are still question marks because you don't know what's going to happen with Jake Moody and if Brant Boyer's completely figured him out. But they improved the long snapper. That was huge. They added major competition when it came to kickoff return and punt return. Very much needed. And they added key depth. When you're talking about Saron Neal, you're talking about Gifford, you had to add guys who are better tacklers on special teams. They did that. Richie Grant, Jason Pinnock. It was an investment in special teams. They paid it. Now it's got to go happen on the field. One of the big reasons it'll work is if Jake Moody kicks well. But field position is going to be one of the keys. And I think Brant Boyer's going to be the guy that's going to get it done for the 49ers. I do expect special teams to be a lot better because they invested a lot in it, whether it was free agency or draft capital or bringing their own guys back. They just have the guys. And now with having those guys, now Brant Boyer gets to coach him up, and I think he can do it. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening to audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network. Please give it a 5-star rating. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.